GamerGrade.com.
Jay from GamerGrade here, bringing you the second and final part of a two-part video series explaining the new mutation skills exclusive to the Blood and Wine expansion for The Witcher 3. The first video of this two-part series can be found in the description below. Make sure not to miss this first video, as it not only explains in depth how the whole mutation skill system works, but also how to unlock and complete the required mutation quest. To recap, there are a total of 12 mutations in all. The first video went in depth explaining the best skills to use with the first 6 mutations, and this second video will explain the best skills to use with the remaining 6 mutations, leaving no mutations unturned. The following 6 mutations will be the ones covered in this second and final video as follows: Toxic Blood and Euphoria, which are both alchemy mutations, Conductors of Magic and Adrenaline Rush, which are both Combat plus Signs mutations, Cat Eyes, which is a Combat plus Alchemy mutation, and finally Metamorphosis, which is a Combat plus Signs plus Alchemy mutation. Okay, first up is Toxic Blood, the first of the 2 alchemy mutations. This mutation will allow access to the alchemy and general skill categories for choosing skills to place in your bonus 4 ability slots. The game description says, each time you are injured in melee combat, the attacking opponent receives damage in the amount of 1.5% of damage dealt for every point of your toxicity level, up to a maximum of 150%. Having the ability to deal large amounts of damage back to any enemies that attack you can really come in handy, especially during tougher fights surrounded by multiple foes. For the damage dealt back to be truly effective, however, you'll need to be topped up on potions. Combining this mutation with the right potions for your playstyle is key, and can really sway any battle in your favour. This build is all about keeping as high a toxicity level as possible, as often as possible, allowing Geralt to maximise his damage output when being attacked, all while managing your toxicity levels so as to not put Geralt in danger. That being said, you will want to avoid getting hit as much as possible in the first place. So experiment and think of how this build can bolster your preferred fighting style in varying combat situations. It's certainly a nice bonus to damage enemies who draw your blood, but you shouldn't be relying on it as your main way of dealing damage. Skills and abilities that work well with the Toxic Blood mutation are as follows: Heightened Tolerance, Alchemy category, first column, second row. An obvious place to begin. This will increase Geralt's toxicity threshold, meaning you can consume more potions while remaining safe. Refreshment, Alchemy category, first column, third row. Refreshment allows you to regain health by drinking any potion. Gaining health with your toxicity is a skill that works well with this build. Acquired Tolerance, Alchemy category, fourth column, second row. Your maximum toxicity threshold is increased with every alchemy formula you know, so depending on the number of known alchemy formulas, this can really help bolster return damage. Endure Pain, Alchemy category, 5th column, 3rd row. This increases max health by 10% when toxicity levels exceed the safe threshold. The additional 10% when you're drunk on potions will always come in handy. Metabolic Control, General category, 5th column, 2nd row. This skill gives an instant base increase to your maximum toxicity level, a must for this build. Okay, the second of the 2 alchemy mutations is called Euphoria. This mutation will allow access to the alchemy and general skill categories for choosing skills to place in your bonus 4 ability slots. The game description says, each point of toxicity increases damage dealt by swords and sign intensity by 0.75%. up to a maximum of 75%. Increasing sword damage output and boosting sign intensity are the primary ways to make Geralt very dangerous, but you will need to be chugging a lot of potions to make Euphoria an effective mutation to utilise. If you find you're already making regular use of potions to bolster your style of combat, Euphoria is a very simple and easy way to gain additional power. Much like the previous Toxic Blood mutation, the Euphoria mutation is all about keeping yourself topped up with potions regularly and managing toxicity levels so as to not put Geralt in danger. Except this time you're keeping your toxicity high in order to maximise your sword damage output and sign intensity. As such, it's a good idea to invest in skills that help raise your damage output across the board. Skills and abilities that work well with the EUPHORIA mutation are as follows. Heightened Tolerance, Alchemy category, first column, second row. An obvious place to begin. This will increase Geralt's toxicity threshold, meaning you can consume more potions while remaining safe. Acquired Tolerance, Alchemy category, fourth column, second row. Your maximum toxicity threshold is increased with every alchemy formula you know, so depending on the number of known alchemy formulas, this can help bolster your damage output. Adaptation, Alchemy category, fourth column, fifth row. Adaptation extends the duration of all decoctions. This is very handy for decoctions with effects that your build benefits from, making them last longer. Also, some decoctions directly increase your offensive capabilities, so they're a good way to increase the power of the EUPHORIA based build. Frenzy, Alchemy category, fifth column, second row. Since your toxicity level will always be above 0, with the Frenzy skill assigned, time will slow every time an enemy counteracts Geralt. This will be handy for tougher battles, giving Geralt the edge. Killing Spree, Alchemy category, 5th column, 5th row. Since your toxicity level will always be above 0, with the Killing Spree skill assigned, every enemy killed increases critical hit chance by 10% for the duration of that fight. You're going to be doing a lot of bonus damage with your high toxicity as it is, so combined with Killing Spree's critical hit chance increase will make Geralt a force to be reckoned with. Endure Pain, Alchemy category, 5th column, 3rd row. This increases max health by 10% when toxicity levels exceed the safe threshold. The additional 10% when you're drunk on potions will always come in handy. Metabolic Control, General category, 5th column, 2nd row. This skill gives an instant base increase to your maximum toxicity level, a must for this build. Okay, onto the third mutation, which is called Conductors of Magic. This is a COMBAT+SIGNS mutation and will allow access to the Combat, Signs and General skill categories for choosing skills to place in your bonus 4 ability slots. The game description says, when drawn, magic, unique and witcher swords increase sign damage dealt by 50% of their own damage dealt. If you have a relatively powerful sword, then this is a simple mutation that's easy to harness, giving damage dealing signs a pretty significant boost during combat. Conductors of Magic is an easy mutation to make use of, as numerous skills synergize well with it. The main factors here are your equipped blades, so make sure you're strapping a set that boasts a high attack power and watch your sign damage shoot up. With that in mind, it's best to focus on signs that deal damage for this build. Skills and abilities that work well with the Conductors of Magic mutation are as follows. Far-reaching Ard, Signs category, 1st column, 2nd row. Since Ard is such a great damage dealing sign, increasing its range will only make this build more effective. Ard Sweep, Signs category, 1st column, 3rd row. This is Ard's alternate sign mode, allowing a much wider effective radius, great for battles against multiple foes from multiple angles. Knockdown chance is lower, but that's okay since this build is all about dealing damage. Ard Intensity, Signs category, 1st column, 4th row. This is an obvious choice. The more sign intensity, the more sign damage. Shockwave, Signs category, 1st column, 5th row. Shockwave is a must, as it allows Ard to do damage in the first place, which will then be bolstered further by the Conductors of Magic mutation. Firestream, Signs category, 2nd column, 3rd row. Firestream is Geralt's most effective damage dealing sign, so is a perfect partner for the Conductors of Magic mutation. Igni Intensity, Signs category, 2nd column, 4th row. Another obvious choice. The more sign intensity, the more sign damage. Pyromaniac, Signs category, 2nd column, 5th row. Increasing your chances of setting enemies on fire with Igni fits well with a build based on increasing sign damage. Magic Trap, Signs category, 3rd column, 3rd row. Magic Trap is Yarden's damage dealing alternate mode, a great choice for the Conductors of Magic mutation. Yarden Intensity, Signs category, 3rd column, 4th row. You know the score, the more sign intensity, the more sign damage. Supercharged Glyphs, Signs category, 3rd column, 5th row. Much like Pyromaniac for Igni, Supercharged Glyphs for Yarden promises gradual damage over time, which fits well with a build based on increasing sign damage. Griffin School Techniques, General category, 4th column, 1st row. If you wear medium armor, then this general skill is an obvious choice. increasing sign damage with each piece worn. The fourth mutation is called Adrenaline Rush, which is a COMBAT+SIGNS mutation, and will allow access to the Combat, Signs and General skill categories for choosing skills to place in your bonus 4 ability slots. The game description says, at the start of combat, sword attack power and sign intensity increase for 30 seconds by 30% for each foe after the first. So when fighting 11 foes, the bonus is 300%. Once it wears off, sword attack power and sign intensity drop by 10% for each foe still alive, but can't drop lower than 70%. Adrenaline Rush is a high-risk, high-reward mutation, most effective in battles with large numbers of foes. If you're adept enough to finish off every opponent within the first 30 seconds, then tough fights can be over in a flash. This build is all about dishing out massive damage as quickly and consistently as possible, before the mutation's negative effects kick in after 30 seconds. As mentioned, it's a risky playstyle that takes practice, but can be very rewarding. Skills and abilities that work well with the Adrenaline Rush mutation are as follows. Whirl, combat category, first column, fourth row. Whirl is the perfect technique for groups of foes, ideal for maximising damage output quickly and consistently, which the Adrenaline Rush mutation demands. Crippling Strikes, combat category, first column, fifth row. This applies a bleeding effect to enemies, giving you a better chance to finish foes in the 30-second window. Rend, combat category, second column, fourth row. Rend will deal additional damage, ignore enemy defense and increase critical hit chance, making it an exceedingly powerful attack. Used wisely, enemies can be swiftly wiped out with relative ease. Razor Focus, combat category, fifth column, fourth row. Gaining an immediate adrenaline point when entering combat and generating adrenaline points faster are both good bonuses to have. Since Whirl and Rend both use adrenaline points, the more adrenaline points the better. Adrenaline Burst, general category, third column, second row. This not only increases adrenaline point generation, but allows your signs to generate adrenaline points too. Keeping your adrenaline topped up as much as possible is a must for this build. Focus, general category, fourth column, second row. Your adrenaline points now increase both weapon damage and sign intensity. Since you will be generating a lot of adrenaline points with this build, it's an obvious choice to help maximise damage output. The fifth mutation is called Cat Eyes, which is a COMBAT+ALCHEMY mutation, and will allow access to the Combat, Alchemy and General skill categories for choosing skills to place in your bonus 4 ability slots. The game description says, crossbow damage is now significantly increased. Values depend on crossbow used, and crossbow critical hit chance is increased by 50%. Crossbow bolts will knock down or stun opponents. Opponents struck when they have full vitality lose 15% of that vitality. If you enjoy a playstyle that involves a lot of ranged attacks, then look no further, as Cat Eyes is the mutation for you. Cat Eyes transforms the crossbow into a devastating damage dealing weapon and giving it some very useful perks, making it far more viable for regular use in standard combat. If you've always wanted to make a lot more use of your crossbow, then Cat Eyes is your best choice. Supported with carefully selected complementary skills, it can easily replace your blades in most combat situations, turning Geralt into a dangerous long-distance attacker. Skills and abilities that work well with the Cat Eyes mutation are as follows. Crippling Shot, combat category, fourth column, fifth row. One of the best crossbow skills, Crippling Shot can stop potentially dangerous monsters with special abilities dead in their tracks. This synergizes perfectly with the Anatomical Knowledge skill, mentioned next. Anatomical Knowledge, combat category, fourth column, fourth row. Significantly increasing your crossbow critical hit chance is a must for this build, so Anatomical Knowledge should be a priority choice, along with Crippling Shot, just mentioned. Lightning Reflexes, combat category, fourth column, second row. Lightning Reflexes will slow time even more when aiming with the crossbow, increasing accuracy and allowing you to pull off more headshots, and more headshots means more damage. Steady Shot, general category, first column, second row. Steady Shot increases the base damage across the board for crossbows, an obvious choice for the Cat Eyes mutation. Trick Shot, general category, fourth column, fourth row. Trick shots will give you an additional bolt to shoot before having to reload, another perfect choice for this build. The sixth and final mutation is called Metamorphosis, which is a Combat plus Signs plus Alchemy mutation, and will allow access to the Combat, Signs, Alchemy and General skill categories for choosing skills to place in your bonus 4 ability slots. The game description says, applying critical effects to opponents activates a random decoction for 120 seconds with no toxicity cost. The maximum number of decoctions that can be activated simultaneously by the mutation is 3, using which sensors helps you see better in dark places. Due to the random nature of Metamorphosis, it's a bit of a gamble as you simply have no idea which decoctions will trigger, but since you can have up to 3 of them active at any one time with no negative effects to toxicity, it's a gamble well worth taking. Many decoctions have powerful effects, and if you happen to activate decoctions that synergize well with one another, Geralt will seem invincible to all his foes. The decoctions only activate when you apply critical effects to enemies, such as burning, bleeding, poisoning, stunning, freezing, etc. As such, this build is all about utilising complementary skills that apply these critical effects to enemies when used. Skills and abilities that work well with the Metamorphosis mutation are as follows. Crippling Strikes, Combat category, 1st column, 5th row. Crippling Strikes applies a bleeding effect to your fast attacks, making it an absolute must for this build. As long as your opponent can bleed, a decoction will trigger with every successful strike. Flood of Anger, Combat category, 5th column, 5th row. This will significantly boost the intensity of signs like Igni, making them much more likely to inflict critical effects, making Flood of Anger a good skill to complement the Metamorphosis mutation. Firestream, Signs category, 2nd column, 3rd row. Utilising Igni's alternate mode Firestream gives the sign a better chance of applying burning to enemies, triggering a decoction every time. Igni intensity, Signs category, 2nd column, 4th row. The more intense Igni is, the more often burning will be applied, another obvious choice. Pyromaniac, Signs category, 2nd column, 5th row. Pyromaniac increases the chance of Igni applying the burning effect to enemies even further, perfect for this build. Poisoned Blades, Alchemy category, 2nd column, 2nd row. When you have an oil applied to your weapon, Poisoned Blades gives a chance to poison your enemies with each successful strike, triggering a decoction every time. Tissue Transmutation, Alchemy category, 4th column, 3rd row. Consumed decoctions will now increase your vitality for the remaining time the decoction is active. Since you will be triggering decoctions all the time and Metamorphosis allows 3 of them to be active simultaneously without penalty, Tissue Transmutation is a simple and easy way to significantly increase Geralt's survivability. Cat School Techniques, General category, 3rd column, 1st row. With this build you're going to be using a lot of fast sword attacks thanks to the Crippling Strikes ability. Cat School Techniques will help rack up some significant critical hit damage to your fast attacks and is a great complement. Bear in mind you will need to wear light armour for this skill to activate. Okay, that's the end of the second and final part of this 2-part video guide covering all 12 mutations found in the game. I hope you found the guides useful and were able to build a good base for your character. If you liked the video, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe for more videos from GamerGrade. It helps me massively and will allow me to make more videos like this in future. I'm Jay, hope to see you in the next one.
Visit GamerGrade.com.